Good evening, everybody. It's 6 o'clock p.m. This is the regular business meeting of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. Please join me in reciting the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Members present include myself, Chair Ethan Pride, Vice Chair Robert Valentine, Supervisor Michael Bear, Administrative Coordinator Jessica Hodge, Township Manager Julia Heilica, Engineer John Tressler, and Solicitor Ron Karasek. The next executive session held February 6, 2026, from 2:38 p.m. regarding to 3:10 p.m. regarding litigation, and then the 9 member has announcements. First order of business, the consent agenda, which is consideration to approve the January 28, 2026 regular meeting minutes, approving the bill pack, totals $123,674.11 between federal and escrow funds. The approval of the PMRS agreement extension and update, and the subsequent resolution, which is consistent with the agreement with Teamster 773. Do I hear a motion on that?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Levinheim, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Albert, discussion.
Only, maybe quick question for Julia. I had a meeting with Public Works, Chris, and guess where everyone is sort of approaching their budgets on salt these days, because it's been a very salt heavy.
Very much so.
We're not yet into, or are we yet into going over on that budget line, or?
I spoke with Bonnie about this briefly a week ago. I believe we are over our budget so far. I think we're only about $5,000 over it, but we are at a point where we need to replenish the salt shed shortly. So we will be over budget for this year, simply because of the vast amount of storm and ice that we've been dealing with.
I guess we tend to continue first till the end of February, and if we're full the end of February, we're good, and we may also have a lot left over, which.
Correct. We make sure that our salt shed is stocked. Depending on how the weather is going, approximately the 3rd week of February, we see how March goes, and then we'll fill it or leave it depending on how the weather is.
Okay, so I suppose we'll keep an eye on it, see how much further over we're gonna go. Okay.
Do you have a question on salt?
No, not on the salt, but on the bill pack. Is that what we're doing right now, is the bill pack? Just so I'm aware, the professional escrow, it's a separate fund from the general fund.
Correct.
And then, so does, Attorney Journey for the zoning, he comes out of the general fund or a
Correct.
special?
He comes out of the general fund.
He comes out of the actual
Because
general,
well, that, right, so that's a flat fee.
and it's not, so what's the special?
What do you mean, what's the?
On the budget, there's like a special solicitor.
Oh, yeah, so we also have a special solicitor for labor.
Okay.
relations. So, personnel type of consultant.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, reports. Debbie, anything to note on emergency front?
298 calls last month, lots of staffing for snow.
Thank you.
Heart attacks?
More people calling for things because we had to shovel them out and then they could go to the hospital.
Okay,
No heart attack.
okay. I know that's
Thanks,
happening when people are shoveling.
we shovel.
Fair enough. Thank you. Okay, Ron, solicitor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I attended the 2 meetings last month. One was planning commission meeting on January 9, the other was the board of supervisors meeting on January 28. I met with the township zoning officer and the file review with him with respect to the water gap appeal regarding the enforcement notice on which there was the first hearing, I believe, last week. I also prepared for the township the legal brief that was in support of the township's position on the water gap appeal that has been filed in common pleas court to the denial of the land development plan. I also worked on the stipulation for the Mountain Manor matter and also reviewed several zoning emails and provisions regarding resort use, obscene material, the high density residential option that was prepared by Mr. Pressler and related items. I also reviewed the revised and updated sign ordinance and prepared a comprehensive memo as I was directed to do. I also worked on a right to know request regarding A-grade property restoration. And I reviewed a number of materials that came in on data centers. And that's about what was done in the last couple or so weeks.
Thank you, Ron. John, engineers report.
I didn't do nearly as much. I did a review, a second review of the data center. I did work on the high density. Possible amendment to the ordinance, high residential density amendment. And I had some correspondence with PennDOT regarding the post office road bridge. We're getting close to opening it. PennDOT wants to keep the 3-ton restriction on it. I pushed back as hard as I could, but I didn't get to that.
They've been able to get oil over? Okay.
That's you.
The last time I seen it wasn't plowed.
That was they took care of that today.
Okay.
Today officially opened. Sorry,
Don't make thunder.
Okay.
everyone's real excited about this 2-ton bridge, huh? Okay.
That's all I have. That's just question.
How heavy is our plow?
3 tons.
Okay.
Remember, we also do not, I don't know how much a pickup weighs, but that's we also have plows on.
Oh, okay.
460
Yeah.
properties. Yeah,
Yeah, I know, those are less than that,
yeah.
certainly less.
I have a question. It's probably for Ron, but, if we can't get an oil truck over there, does that become a legal matter with the township and the homeowner?
Well, when you say we can't get a truck over, who's the we? So I
Any
know,
oil company? If she can't get oil because of PennDOT, and we didn't improve the bridge to suffice the weight limit
Well, it sounds like
for an oil truck.
we brought it to the limit it was before,
Right, that is correct. And
so that's what it's always been. I mean,
I would say to you
that'd be
that
non-conforming,
yeah,
really.
if the bridge had been brought up to prior standards and trucks went over it before, I don't see why there would be an issue now. But if PennDOT or someone would raise that issue, I think they have a problem. They can't have it both ways. They can't say, fix the bridge, but only fix it halfway or only fix it for some particular instances for a fuel truck. Now, I'm not saying you gotta fix it for a 78,000-pound tractor trailer, but I think fuel truck, delivery van, things like that, they've gotta be able to cross that bridge to make those deliveries.
Okay, I just didn't want any repercussions of it. Township.
It's hard to say,
If
'cause
it meets.
we don't know who might say something or do something, but I think there has to be some kind of, use there.
Okay.
Fair enough. Julia, manager's report.
So our DPW director did receive written word from PennDOT that it was okay to open the bridge today. So, oh, thank you. We did receive written word from PennDOT that it was okay to open the bridge today. So the bridge is open, it's been plowed, and it's been salted.
Perfect. All right. I-80 State Route 611, Tara.
Good evening, nice to be here I have a few updates. First, let's talk, I'll always just update on 611 with PennDOT. No further follow-up. Where we left off is there's supposed to be an official briefing, coming up. That has not happened as quickly as they anticipated. I don't wanna necessarily speculate as to why. Although I will say, this is a very complicated corridor. And odds are, any agency doing anything in there is gonna be bumping into, why they better, dot their i's and cross their t's because of the complications. So, I, as much as we want it to get open fast and get them to working fast, by doing due diligence, maybe it'll get opened as fast as it can. Same thing with I-80, no updates, haven't heard from NJDOT. I can't,
Does PennDOT have any idea of when that 611 might open with its 2 lanes rather than one, but 2 years from now, 3
Oh, no,
years
way
from
more.
now?
Yeah, no, we,
So-
I can say, I don't think the clock that I've been talking about has started.
Yeah.
Because, originally, they were talking about starting preliminary engineering and, the environmental review, the need in 2025. I can say, while maybe they've technically started preliminary engineering, from communicating with them, what they're doing instead of the NEPA environmental review is an environmental analysis. And it's like the first I've heard of those words, and what I think that means, which is part of why I think it slowed down the feel of how quickly we were gonna get information, is they're taking a step back and assessing every possible everything that might need to be done. So that when they start that NEPA likely environmental impact statement, they're not, they're just going. They've already talked with, you know, whether it's, Fish and Wildlife, or if it's, the National Park Service about threatened and endangered species, or DEP about this, that, and the other thing. The Wild and Scenic River being there, they know exactly what needs to be done, and they've done some preliminary work. So the timeline I was talking about is, I think this process they're going on right now is 2 years. I think you're looking at another 2 years for that next process.
Well, okay, let's say in 4 years, is that?
So then they go into final design and then construction.
All right, well, the last I read, they had answered the question about ice on the road and, we're making some improvements, but it seems like we need other things there. It's gonna be there for 5 years. For instance, somebody suggested a countdown clock so that when you got there, you know how long you're gonna sit there. I think that's a worthwhile investment and not very expensive. It's one thing. And there are probably some others too, as far as on demand, how much time is allowed for one way versus the other with the number of cars. I don't know if any of that's been done.
So thank you, and thank you for chiming in on that, the communication that's been going on about that. They've answered some questions about ideas that have been thrown their way over the past 2 years about these things. They've alluded to some others, and I think some just fell by the wayside. What we did just now, and also with your help, is they have a complete list again, and pressure to respond, because we are looking at that being the way that it is for a very long time. So thank you.
I wonder if anyone at PennDOT ever takes the New York City subway, because over the last 5 years, countdown clocks have been put in every station, and it doesn't make the train come any faster, but it's certainly wonderful to go down there and say, oh, it's 3 minutes and 12 seconds. That's all I have to wait.
They're bound by state and federal law on what they can do on their roadways and what signs can go up. For example, when they put the creative sign that we asked for that suggested people wait. You know, there's a sign up there now that says could be up to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was done specially for this with special permission, and it's a first ever sign. So things like, why are we not ticketing there? And part of the reason you can't just do that is the only reason there's a speed camera in the active work zone on I-80 is because after long debate, they finally passed the law in the state of Pennsylvania where they can have that only in a work zone, active work zone. So it's when the workers are working for the safety of the workers. It wasn't necessarily to really be enforcing a speed limit.
Sure.
So we're about to get more information because everybody like yourself has chimed in and asked for it. So hopefully we'll have an update on the temporary 5-year situation soon. So that's 611, same thing, Jersey, we're in holding pattern on that. the Gateway Community Explore Act thing, I always want to keep giving an update on. When we started this process, over a year ago, I said, by statute, they needed to, they were mandated to select 10 gateway communities for this pilot program. So that clock has expired. Knowing that that was coming up, I did reach out to our Congressman Kane on the Jersey side. Email also went out to your Congressman Bresnahan and Congressman McKenzie on Northampton. You could reach out at this point, whoever has that relationship with Congressman Bresnahan's office, and ask if he is if there's consideration to be following up on that with the Department of Interior. Part of the reason it was timely to do that is the new thing that we did was jump on that public comment period, which was separate from the Gateway community. That comment we, with Julia's help, everybody and all the communities put in, that was really just doing our part to help them to respond to the request for information to how to improve the visitor experience. So they could easily, I suggested a joint letter from all three of them, referencing that we are participating and therefore deserving of that. And then lastly, new information that I've not stood up here. Well, I mentioned Amtrak before, but I sent you guys information for review because the Amtrak project, on behalf of Knowlton Township and Upper Mount Bethel, I did reach the responsible for what's going on right now, and that is NDOT is the lead agency for Amtrak's step 2. Okay, step 3 is preliminary engineering. Step 3 is the National Environmental Policy Act, environmental reviews, it's same language. But step 2, right now, they're starting the process. It's a multi-year big study. Everybody's tired of studies, but this is the one that has to take place, because without this will answer every question you have, every question you can't think to ask about what is necessary to bring New York City to Scranton to a reality. What's the cost for the stations? Where are the stations?
This is the $60 million study. How much?
I don't know I'm not connected to this cost. Whatever it is, in order to advance a project, you need to know the expense of rehabbing supposedly the viaducts. Both of those viaducts are in Knowlton Township. Supposedly they're sound structurally, but it would be major rehabilitation. So every possible, what the routes would be, what the ridership would be, what the times of those routes, everything possible will come out of this study. Required by law is public information to be put out. There's requirement in this process. Very rare will we have an opportunity to provide formal public comment on this. So I was happy to make sure everybody knew that's coming up. That's February 19th, 4 o'clock, a virtual meeting. They will have a recording of that, I'm sure, available to anybody afterwards. It's an opportunity for everybody, municipalities, the public, to offer input. Julia does have, if anybody wants to get the information on it, Julia has the information on where to register for that. And they're going to be presenting this step 2 piece to the public. And then that brought something up that I wanted to bring to your attention and ask if you want this kind of thing. My husband, the reason why we're involved in the Delaware Water Gap transportation is because of his expertise. Not only does he do this kind of work to talk about in the Delaware Water Gap, extensive rail, extensive building of stations, extensive putting a new rail down an existing right of way. We know what these things look like. The last one was the Long Island Railroad through 10 towns out on Long Island, where they have lawyers living in the towns that have nothing better to do than to advocate for their towns. So what you have is a town, what we watched out on Long Island is you have a town that wants to scream to try to fight these things. And then you have other towns that wanna say, we recognize it very well may happen, We wanna partner in the process. Doesn't mean you like it, but it means you get a seat at the table and you have an opportunity to see if you can get mitigation. It's about mitigation opportunities. Out in Long Island, they got a lot. My husband saw it all, you know, the ones that cooperate in the process have the opportunity for their impacts to be assessed. And to then have the rights to say, how do we mitigate them? And if they can't mitigate exactly the way you wanted, you can negotiate in that kind of process. We can't live with ourselves not bringing this kind of information to the municipalities that we like. So therefore, we did become a liaison to Amtrak for Knowlton at a time that it was important in a process for Knowlton. We did the same for Upper Mount Bethel. That's the viaduct. Comes over into Slateford, Upper Mount Bethel. That's going through the backyards of Slateford is gonna be an active line. So I'm here to say your impact is not like Knowlton's, it's not like Upper Mount Bethel's. But your impact are your fields. You know, it comes through, it divides your park. I'm offering to be that liaison by appointment. By doing so, when I'm communicating on behalf of Knowlton and Upper Mount Bethel, to make sure that they have the right information and they hear a little more from us. I could be doing the same for Smithfield. It just gives that little voice a little louder opportunity at a bigger platform. And I would be happy to draft the points for a resolution. So that if you wanted that, then that would be the three of us. Also, the resolutions are there. So for Knowlton and Upper Mount Bethel, they're on record. They've acknowledged they're on record. They've acknowledged that during the same language, the environmental analysis that's going to be going on in this to determine all the possible environmental impacts. And that's the human, you know, we are the environment. So when it goes through your park, that's impact on the environment.
Tara, am I right in this meeting on the 19th?
Yes.
February 19th? That's for public review, or let's say public comment, but it's not about spending the money. The money is already going to be spent one way or another. Is that
So
true?
the money for this
This
study
phase.
this phase is spent. No stop in the study.
So
When
what are we reviewing if they're already doing it?
you're not reviewing it on the 19th, they're sharing information on this phase of the project with the public as required by law.
So what do they want from the public? If they're sharing it, they're not asking for the public to give them input on what they're going to do. They're going to do it, and they're just saying, do you approve or not? Is
No.
that true?
No, so the little people.
I don't mean to put you on the
No,
spot.
please, no, I welcome it. I mean, I think it's good for everybody to hear it. I don't feel on the spot with you either, so hit me. For these kind of major projects, they require to give the public an opportunity to provide input on the project. So you could say, if you don't show up and you don't provide a comment, then they run the line through. You can't be complaining that you didn't maybe get more safety gates or better signage or maybe fences up.
Yeah.
Well, here's my comment, which you know, because I've
I do know
examined
yours.
you on this. To me, you know, call me an enemy of nostalgia, but I think this is the worst expenditure of public funds I could ever think of. The only thing worse was if somebody decided, let's build a stagecoach from Scranton to New York City. We need that too, and tourists would love it. I think this is ridiculous in the age of auto drive cars and what's going to become connected auto drive that will put you on 80 and send you to New York City, and you don't have to even touch the steering wheel. What are we doing here? So that's my point of view. If you want to represent us, you can count on one who is against this whole thing. And I know in the Poconos, that's a heresy. You know, the train is coming back. No, people, the train is never coming back. Try saying that, because it's not going to happen.
Well, you definitely said it. Well,
So, would you like me?
hang on. So yeah, if you want to draft that up for our consideration, we'd appreciate that for the 25th meeting. I definitely do want to weigh in because we don't know, what's going to go on with. I think Minnesink is an important aspect to weigh in on.
Yeah,
In terms of
our-
whatever they're going to do.
Right.
So I think I really don't know what happens, because I don't know of a lot of municipal parks off the top of my head that are bisected by railways, but
Knowlton's is.
really?
Yeah, our tunnel field, it'll go right down the middle. We have fields on both sides and our tunnel. You drive through the tunnel to one side, so yeah. So, and I really have to, Julia shows up for everything. So you have representation. Because every time we put this information out, Julia is there, and certainly, I'm sure a comment would be drafted. This is just, if you went with the resolution, it would be to join the other two.
Right.
Sure.
Just another notch.
Yeah, no, we appreciate the info. If you want to send that to us, sometime in the middle or next
I got a
week.
Question, where can I find an overlay of their proposed tracks?
They will, the
I don't think they got that far, honestly.
So no, the route is on paper and it will be, there's actually a picture of the route on the website that you'll get from Julia on where to
Okay,
register.
I'll get with her. to
So it's
pick
it's the existing right of way through
Where
Pennsylvania.
we tore them out 50 years ago.
Oh, on the Jersey side, yes. But not on
At
Pennsylvania.
least my
I mean,
understanding is they didn't have,
Yeah,
they have
Pennsylvania.
ideas of where they want to do the stuff, but they don't
No.
have any defined criteria yet
Stops.
that far.
And they don't have any passengers.
No, I'm counting you out.
Hey, I'm looking to get you guys a seat. I
We
want you to have the
appreciate
seat at the table so that you're.
Having information's
Yeah.
useful,
That's
so.
that's it. Okay,
Thank
that's it
you.
for me for tonight. Back on the 25th.
Thank you. Alex will have an EAC report, on the 25th. That's after their, next meeting, which is on the 17th. Supervisor comments, Michael, Robert, anything?
I don't have anything.
No, they,
Alright, and none of that, no business, no old business. Under new business, the only item we have is the consideration to approve the match commitment letter for the One for Nature grant application. Julia can provide a little more details, on that. But essentially replaces some of the broken or
Yeah,
disrepaired,
our benches in Minnesink Park are in a bit of disrepair. A lot of them were just a flat bench that have no backs. This grant proposes the replacement of 8 of the benches to an ADA compliant plastic composite that will stay around a lot longer and stay in better condition longer than what we currently have. The total grant match that the township is proposing is $3,878.47. Of that, the match commitment letter that you're looking at tonight is for $2,598.47. The remainder of the funds, which will be an in-kind match, because we're going to use our own DPW to install the benches in the park.
do I hear a motion on that item?
Motion to approve the full letter and the match as presented for $2,598.47.
Motion by Mr. Albert, do I hear a second?
second,
Alright, second, Mr. Levenheim, discussion? Anything from the board? Maybe,
So we're matching $3,000 to put in 8 benches,
yes,
so it's $6,000 to put in 8 benches.
for how many benches?
It's 8 total. The total project cost is $6,476.94.
where are these benches at?
They're going
Minnesink
in at
Park.
Minnesink Park.
Those are expensive benches. I think we put them in,
Is there not a cheaper option?
There are, but they're not, this is designed to last quite some time. The ones that were there lasted over 10 years, so we're trying to make sure that they last at least that. But they're not made out of wood, it's a different material, so it is.
plastic.
It's
Last
plastic
longer.
Malibu and they're.
I think the ones we put in Mount Nebo were about, what, $500, $600?
Yeah, and that's what these are. These are $548 each.
I was just at the East Stratford Borough Council meeting and they got benches that made out of wind vines and they got an art grant for it for free, something to look into.
We'll certainly look into it, but we've had a good relationship with One for Nature, it's worked pretty well.
By the way, Katie, so Katie,
Hold on, one at a time.
If you go to Lowe's, they got a-
No, we need your name for the comment.
Danica Hartenfeld.
Thank you.
By the way, Katie. Alright. I was just gonna highlight that, one of the reasons why that number looks inflated is because we've added our staff time to be able to address the match, so $1,200 of staff time. That helps reduce our need for bringing up cash, so it's not really $6,400, it's really $5,000. I don't know if you heard that, because we put our time in here, and that allows us to not spend as much cash, because they require a certain amount of match.
Okay.
So really, it's, you know, it's 5,000 for the benches, which I think is probably a little expensive. I know I've bought long-term benches and they can be $600, $800, and the wood ones that are $500 at Lowe's last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless, you know, people take care of them.
Do we need these benches?
Yes, they're replacing existing benches that people want to sit on.
I mean, sorry if I'm being called on, how many people use Menacing Park per month or per year? I mean, it would be kind of relevant to have those numbers to see if it's really, you know, a need. If there's, you know, 4 people going there a month or 5 people going there a month. Do we really need the benches? I mean, it would make sense to save a little taxpayer money here and not embellish on benches that aren't needed.
Well, people are requesting them. I don't know off the top of my head, how many thousands of people utilize Menacing Park off the top of my head, but particularly with the restoning of the trail, we've had an increase in the usage, and as soon as it warms up enough and melts, I think that we're gonna have a lot more usage. The sports fields receive a lot of usage, and some people like the passive recreation on the trails.
It's an interesting question, though, that
Would you have a
maybe
survey?
we should figure some survey to find out how many people do use
We're
it.
not doing a survey for $6,000 worth of benches.
$2,000 is what we're saying. Again, we're not spending $6,500. Our commitment is $2,500.
Okay.
Rather than one survey, why can't we have a survey? I don't understand.
It probably costs you about $10,000 to run a survey. So you want a survey to find out if you want to use $2,500 for benches. Obviously, your survey would ask you many more things than that.
Can
but-
you do a Facebook survey?
No, it's not scientific. We're not doing an unscientific survey about whether or not we're replacing 15-year-old benches in our parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Nay.
okay. Public,
Robert, comment. Yeah, you're nay.
Alright,
alright, public comment, please state your name for the record and Jess will start the timer.
Yeah, I don't understand the non-uniform.
Again, fine, we spoke, we did that already.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Good evening, esteemed members of the board. I am here tonight representing the Stern family.
Listen to her.
We want to yet again acknowledge our appreciation of the township settlement offer. We especially want to acknowledge the efforts of Robert and Michael to push this matter forward. However, the proposed terms of the settlement are more restrictive than the status quo and more restrictive than our current lawful use of property. Our request was narrowly limited to personal use of the property and was not intended to expand operations or reopen the back nine as a business. That request appears to have been misconstrued, resulting in additional limitations that are unnecessary and inconsistent with existing rights. To be clear, we are not seeking to reopen or operate the entity known as the back nine at this time. Our position is that absent from an agreement, the status quo remains, that the Byrne family retains the right to use their property for personal purposes, subject general applicable laws and ordinances, and that they will continue to honor those obligations. It is our sincere hope that we will leave here tonight with a resolution for the personal use while letting the higher court deal with the other issue at hand.
but I think this is up an interesting question. I mean,
Jess, you can stop.
when we started trying to figure out something here, it was because Lisa Byrne came to us and said, you know, we want the kids to ride. So we figured out something for that. But what you're bringing up is an interesting question, because the reason we decided that it should be allowed is because it's personal use of your own property. And it seems like everyone should be able to do anything on their own property that is within the law and doesn't affect anyone else. So then the question becomes, well, is it wrong to say we're limiting it to just the children because there are other uses? I mean, let's say you wanted to have a wedding on the property, you invited 100 people. Anybody can do that, or a graduation party and so forth. So we're not looking for a way to restrict that. What we're doing here, I mean, it brings up the question: this is private property. It's not for public use. It's, you know, let's say friends and relatives, and if it's not affecting the law, especially now that we have a noise ordinance, I'm not sure that we shouldn't allow it. I'd like, you know, a little debate on this. Michael, how do you feel? Jacob?
I mean, the injunction that's in place today doesn't stop any use except for motocross. So the stipulation that we approved to offer only covers that. So none of the other uses would be precluded.
Well, why should it cover motocross if motocross is on your property? It's with, let's say, your friends, and it's not violating our ordinances, particularly our noise ordinance. Why are we singling out motocross?
Hold on, before we get the public comment. We didn't single out, you know, it's singled out in the court order. So when we offered stipulation that we did, it affected that court order. So that's why it was singled out. So I don't know what it looks like in terms of what you're looking specifically to do.
Clarifying question, the order impacts back nine. But it does not impact the personal use that the family has. We're talking about the back nine as an entity versus the personal use of the family on their property, asking to go back to doing what they did before the back nine ever came to fruition, which the status quo was. The kids rode with their friends. There was no age limit. There was no time limit, and nobody knew because it wasn't anything that was a noise ordinance, a nuisance, or a complaint. They
Well, I
followed the
appreciate
guidelines.
that.
So my question to you would be, is the injunction against the family as a personal, or is it against the back nine? And I think, and maybe Ron could weigh in, are you looking at, you know, the business piece of things here? And if so, then why does that impact the personal?
Ron?
I'd love to have Ron jump in. I'd love to have Ron jump in, but yeah, maybe you jump in first. I have something I want to say.
Well, I thought that what the board was attempting to do was to allow personal use where the present order does not allow it. I mean, I have the transcript here in front of me where Mr. Brown asked, what about the Byrne children? And the court specifically said, I don't want to get into that situation. No, it says no motocross activities, and that's how we're going to leave it. So right now, the children cannot ride under this order. I thought you were saying, okay, let's come off of that order and let the Byrne children ride and let their friends also ride with them. So, you know, they can have a little bit of fun on that property without getting into opening the whole can of worms. So I'm not
And
going to.
I think what's the,
You know,
One of the
where we
rationale-
are we opening too much or not? That's your call. I mean, I do what I'm told. to
and the
do.
rationale for that is just as you said, I mean, ultimately, once this case is heard, I cannot imagine a judge not saying, okay, well, you can't, this is all about the business and operating a business. That is what is gonna go before the judge. And I can't imagine the judge saying, no, you can't use it for personal use for motocross. So of course, so what we're trying to say now is, even ahead of the judge saying that, we're saying you should be able to do that right now. There were limits on it, and that was out of fear that we might be told is for personal use, but really the business is operating. again. That is, I'm being honest.
So I remember your words.
And that is also because that in the, I was also in this, in a meeting, or in this room, not a party, but hearing arguments made by back nine where they already said that that's what they were doing. So
That they were doing what?
that it was not a business.
It's a not.
Let's also remember that
Well, it's still,
When it's-
probably still a business.
So the bottom line is, the offer that was made is what Ron's saying, not even something now that is.
No, I mean, did you not give a response? You sent the response?
Yeah.
Days ago?
The response is, hold on.
What came back from Mazurek was saying, no, we don't want to do that. We just want to talk about a global settlement, which is a settlement of the final agreement, not this temporary injunction, which is where we wanted to start. Let's start with talking about a settlement on that. So if there are changes to that you want to put forward, suggest them. That is not what he suggested. He suggested, no, throwing that entirely out. We're going to propose a global settlement and we don't hear anything about the business. We don't go to the courts. We're going to continue to operate the way we've been doing. That's what I read from Mazurek.
There's nothing wrong with proposing or suggesting a global settlement. However, I believe that council just goes too far right now because you as the board are not willing to go that far. You're willing to say, we're not in global settlement discussion yet. We're talking about letting the Byrne children ride with their friends. That's as far as we're gonna go right now. If that works and it looks like it's okay, well, then maybe we'll ratchet it up to the next level. But that's what I thought you were doing. So if I misunderstood that, I'm wrong.
Okay. I think we're intruding on personal use on private property. And I also think that when this injunction came down, it was under a different set of circumstances, which were highly emotional and which were involved with the two big questions, which were, could you have this track in the R1, which you claim you cannot, and are you a resort, which we claim you're not, right? Those are the two things that are waiting for court clarification. Am I right on that?
You are correct.
So,
I mean, I agree. I think I said this before. If you're sticking to all the laws of the township as it relates to sound ordinance and not operating a business, I agree. I don't see why you couldn't have 100 people on that track. I don't know how you will do that. I also should say right now, I don't believe you have DEP approval for that track. So you need to be very careful because DEP can come and is more enforcing that. I know you submitted an application and I know it's pending. I got a copy from DEP. But I'm in agreement. I think ultimately that's where we'll land anyway. So you're allowed to use it for personal use.
We are.
I mean, I would like to see that as a possibility. This was a first step. Come back with a document that says, that tweaks what we wrote.
Well, that's in essence what I've read to you tonight, just to go back to
good question.
how everything went before and let the courts deal.
Okay, that's not what Mazurek said. So if the lawyer that we have on record can submit that, and because it has to go to the court, it still has to be approved, right? It has to be a vote around here. It has to go, the judge has to sign it, and then it can happen.
So for clarification. If our here and sends a letter that basically says we want to return to the status quo.
No, status quo
Status
was a
quo
business,
so
was
the
operating a
status quo
business.
before the business, so let me clarify, the status quo before the business, where the kids just rode for.
I wouldn't use the word status quo in any return. I would state what you mean, and if that
So
is,
personal use of their property. That would be something that you would agree to, where the courts would then decide on.
I can't speak for that, those
Not
guys.
trying to put you on the spot, but I'm trying to just make sure that I am clear on.
In theory, I am in
So
agreement.
in theory, we would have to.
And I'm gonna get 100 people yelling at me, but I believe you can do what you want with your property if you're meeting. If you're meeting the laws of the township.
I think that would be the consensus of the board. What we don't want to see is where that experiment would fail us and then we return to the effective, prior status quo. So, I know that there's a lot of people that will have concern with that, like Michael said, but I think if we could, have some proof that it would be met on your side of the table, I think that we would entertain that. And, I think you would have our support in that.
So proper verbiage submitted by our attorney summarizing what we've discussed tonight would seem to have a favorable outcome
Yes.
once discussion is had and things are
We
set.
see this as the predicate to any future discussion on actual global settlement.
And we fully understand there is a sole separate issue. This is again, solely personal.
Because the only reason why people are deprived of a right they would have otherwise had was because of the conduct, that led to us having to secure the injunction. So if we're talking about returning to that sans the business, I think that would pass muster.
And I do appreciate the conversation.
And again, I just wanna make sure that's clear, that's what the case that's Harrisburg, right? Is in Harrisburg, is around operating a business in an R1, which is what was heard. So you're right. That doesn't mean you can't ride a motorcycle, and that's what I've said to people that have complained, like, you have the right to ride a motorcycle. You still have to abide by the other laws of the township.
And we fully understand and respect that component of it. So, pending then some verbiage changes, certainly we will come back to the table then with that. And we do appreciate the willingness, for the discussion.
The meeting is February 25th when we can next vote on it. So if you could please try to get it to us by
Absolutely.
the 18th, that would be ideal.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi, can I speak? It's Elisa.
Yeah, just let Jess have a timer.
Don't forget the timer, Jacob.
All right, go ahead, Elisa.
Hey, good evening. Ron, this is actually just a question for you. I was speaking with Ed, and I do believe, based on the fact that you're all there tonight and we are pretty much in agreement, that we can go ahead and just decide that right now. Everyone's present. We don't need to do anything further other than if you could be kind enough to respond to the offer that we've already sent you, stating without all the other stuff about the entity or the back nine that we could ride, because on our property for personal use, that would be much appreciated. I think everyone in the room would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach Klaptowski, 109 Clubhouse Court. It's hard to just always sit here and be quiet. It's rather frustrating that it's taken a year for you guys to finally see this. I'm glad that we're finally seeing this and that, we're working towards a resolution. Still, the fact remains that my boys, the Byrne boys, they don't have the same last name as me, but I will claim them. That's a year of a 14-year-old kid's life. Long gone, long gone. You can't buy back time. Just because we haven't been able to see eye to eye, and because of our demeanor in this room. When our demeanor in this room was met equally by the demeanor at the front of the room. I will have it noted that we've never operated as a business too. We've always operated as a 501c3 nonprofit sports club, which I gladly will keep it to personal use. That's not a question. I'm glad that we're able to come to some sort of compromise, and especially without the age limit. Because a 14-year-old makes the same noise as a 21-year-old, as a 21-year-old makes the same noise as a 70-year-old on that track. We're all a big family. And as far as, being able to operate a business on this property has essentially, in my eyes, this is obviously me talking and I'm not a lawyer, been already deemed allowed to happen because the judge has spoken that we are a resort. And there are other businesses that operate on this property. And none of the other businesses have been tarnished, have been, forced to stop for over a year. That this is, sad that we've had to beg. We've had to beg with, everything in our hearts. And we've had, kids come up here and talk to you. And I'm not sure much has, changed on our side of the street I'm not sure what has changed on your side of the street besides the willingness to talk to us and listen to us and understand us and what's going on. I really appreciate you guys, being here and speaking and all that, but like, I'm glad that we can, get to personal use. And we'll keep it to personal use. And you have our word on the personal use. And, as long as you guys are reasonable in that. So
Thank you.
please, thank you. And
Thank you.
we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Todd Moser. I'm a proud Army vet. I served in Desert Storm and Desert Shield. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the Veteran MX Foundation to show the correlation between motocross and the issues that we face as returning veterans. The things that I saw when I was overseas are things that probably nobody should ever see in real life. So when I got back, I had a lot of issues. I still do have a lot of issues. The VA has diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder, depressive disorder, and PTSD. So every day I'm battling with these demons. I still can't go anywhere to watch fireworks. As a matter of fact, one year when the fireworks were going off all around us, I just wanted to go hide in my closet and I couldn't because I was frozen to my chair. My wife had to come out and snap me out of it. The only time that I feel free, that none of that matters, that none of it even exists, is when I'm on a motorcycle on a track. And that's helping countless others throughout the country. Like I said, there's a whole foundation of veterans out there that are using motocross to help deal with everything. There's numerous studies. There's a clinical psychologist from the VA that wrote a letter for it. It doesn't take much to find it if you Google for it. Just look for adrenaline therapy. So basically, that's all I have to say. It's a very beneficial thing, I know Dr. Sportelli was zooming in, and he was talking about the benefits to family and everything. Well, that's the same thing for us. We're all a family. Thank you.
Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I jump in there? This is Chris Cooksey Online.
Sure. That'll get you tired.
Go ahead, Chris.
I want to say this is one of the biggest government overreaches and gross injustices that I've seen in a long time. Tonight, you guys have kind of admitted that you're going to let them ride and that you can't dictate what they can do between a wedding or a track as long as they follow the laws. But I hope everyone can see Jacob and the guy next to Jacob. I don't know his name, but they clearly have a personal vendetta and they are using it to just punish the Byrne family for some reason. And I don't even think it's about motocross, but I just can't believe that our government, we cannot have gross government overreach like this. And I hope those of you in power around them can recognize these two gentlemen and what they've done to this family.
Thank you. Todd.
Oh, yeah, you guys know me. I want to jump back to the last meeting. When you were having a discussion about the housing, economic development, the residential zoning, to possibly go into 3 to 5 story buildings, put 12 units per acre. We're closing the schools, you know that, right? Okay, that means more people,
No, we're not.
We're not closing.
as of this morning, they were.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So I stand corrected. All right, but regardless, when everyone involved in this sits down at the table and discusses it again, can we get some bullet points? What the negativity for the residents, positive for the residents, some negativity for the township and something positive for the township. And tell us, what's our benefit? What's your benefit? What's our negativity? What's your negativity? I know we have, quite a few discussions and then things happen or don't happen. But what's in it for me? If 2 miles down the road, I get all these businesses, these 3 to 5 story houses, who I don't know who's moving there. They could be the worst people or the best people in the world. But what's my benefit out of this? My taxes gonna go down? Or are my taxes eventually gonna go up again? You know, is it revenue for the township? Are we gonna be able to buy newer or better equipment? Are we gonna be able to hire another road crew guy? You know, if it all falls apart, or you say it's gonna be great, and then next thing you know, it's the worst thing the township ever thought of. Cause I mean, in my personal belief, Middle Smithfield screwed up when they put all those developments in. They ruined some of the best hunting up there. So I would just like to know what the public, your residents, what's our benefit and our downfalls of this? And what will be the benefits and the downfall for the township?
Thank you. We're gonna have an extended conversation on that this coming Wednesday.
Okay,
So
The work session, and it's a work session.
Okay.
So that's the only thing on the agenda, I think.
yes, like there might be a small tidbit about the signage, depending on if Alex gets that. But I will just say for the record, just so everyone knows ahead of time, we're gonna add some stuff to the website that has some details on what we're
okay.
talking
Yeah, 'cause,
about.
You know, being on the environmental council, I'd like to know what the environmental impact is gonna be up there also.
Absolutely, and that's why, one of the key things too, we're not gonna talk about taking away existing rural, residential zone properties. It's about the corridors, but
Yeah, 'cause
we'll get
I mean-
into that on Wednesday.
The more space you take away for wildlife, the more we're hitting wildlife. Or, whatever it is. Or maybe all the deer come hide on my property, but,
That might be good for you, right?
That's good for me, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
what's the environmental impact for this also?
Sure. Well, I imagine we'll be seeing you on 15th then, at 6. Katie?
I had a question, just going back, it seems like you kind of mumbled over 5D. What is the resolution for 617, amending the non-uniform pension plan? Because that was never discussed publicly. If you could just pause me so you can respond.
Right, so we put it on the consent agenda, it's a ministerial function, so whenever we make a change to the pension plan, we have to approve that. So our agreement with PMRS, the Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement System, expired in December, and since then we have negotiated the renewal to that. So
So there's no,
the monetary changes.
there's
but
no
the-
amendment.
there- Correct, so you have to do both, they always consider it to be an amendment. So the other, it's 52.50 per person, broken into by quarter per eligible person.
Okay,
So that's the difference, and it's covered, we felt that was the most we could go without dipping into potentially general funds, because the state reimburses the pension obligation essentially.
got it.
So that was the change, and it just renews it for another. How many years? I think it's 4. Yeah, 4 years. So the next time it'll come up will be December 2030. Like
Alright, and then-
1,500 municipalities use it.
Also in the bill packet, there's gatehouse advertising and marketing that we're spending $408.22 a month on.
Those are legal ads. So when we advertise when meetings are or draft ordinances, for example,
We have to
public
spend
hearings.
$400 for you to post a post.
Yes,
Yes.
and actually, it's something that municipalities have been lobbying
Really?
against for a while, so essentially.
In a
Local,
newspaper that you won't get.
correct, local, I'm not gonna. Essentially, the state,
Nobody wants to do it.
supervisor.
Required by law.
Right, so we have to spend that and, a paper, locally that has like 9,000, households versus the 80,000 in our county. That's where we have to do it, and it's not necessarily their fault, but their lobby persuades the state legislature not to allow us to use our own website for public notices. So that is why we have to do that.
Okay,
If you want that changed, you have to go to the state to.
that is ridiculous. Alright, okay,
Yeah,
and then,
because-
okay. So last question, and I hope you don't find this really ridiculous, but I was Googling online. And I had seen that it had come up with you with Mario Orlando being investigated for voter fraud in October 2025.
I wouldn't have any reason to believe I'm under investigation for voter fraud.
It's on Google.
If
I
you
can
wanna-
show it to
if
you,
If
but,
you wanna show me that.
yeah, I can show it to you,
That's,
but I was just wondering if you had any response to that, but.
I
Yeah.
voted lawfully.
Well, I was just, cause I do a lot of research and I didn't mean to, but I clicked on something and it popped up. And then I got a whole article about it.
I'm unfamiliar with that. You wanna,
Okay, I
Show
can
me.
send, I'll email it to you, but, just because with the whole, I know a lot of people have probably heard about the hot mic situation. I was just wondering if that had any correlation with that or.
No.
Okay,
thank you.
All right.
If you wanna send me that, I'm happy.
yeah, I'll email it
I
to you.
appreciate it.
Thanks. Katie,
Yes,
basically with the newspaper stuff they have to do, falls hand in hand. It's like, if someone dies, you have to put their information in the paper.
okay,
So say you did work for me and I didn't pay you, you could come to his attorney and say, hey, look, never paid his bill, he owes me $5,000 or $500. And then the estate winds up paying that.
okay.
So that's, yes, that's another part of that.
I've got one on the phone.
Okay.
Oh, so Ron wants to say
It's
something.
okay, take the phone.
There was a hand up. Scott.
Hey there, I was trying to get my hand up. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah. What's your
I don't-
name?
Hi there, Joe
We need a last name, Joe.
Roncelli.
Can you spell that for us, please?
Yep. ROMCELLI.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. My question was on zoning today. I'm curious exactly what documentation and how the process would go about getting rezoned. So regardless of the size of the property, locations, etc. I just want to know exactly what goes on and how long it would take and what the process is like to have your property rezoned.
So Ron, you wanna answer that's fine. Just from the supervisor standpoint, you essentially file an application. It's a discretionary action on behalf of the board. The board does not have to change the zone necessarily. Usually we don't do one at a time. There's spot zoning concerns with that. But there's an application on our website for a zone change, has the fee schedule and everything. Ron, is there anything else that you wanna highlight on that?
No, other than, again, it is discretionary, so if someone wants to change the zoning in their property, the board does not have to approve it.
There's no clock.
And there is no appeal to that, it's a legislative function.
Right.
Now, if in fact someone is filing a municipal or a landowner curative amendment, well, that's different, and that has a different procedure, and there is appeal to that, et cetera, but plain old zoning change, it can be filed with a petition, there has to be a hearing, and then the board decides what to do.
And also, I mean, for your information, if you're an island in a sea of another zone, that won't fly. It's not legal to change one property when the surrounding properties are something else. That is sort of the definition of spot zoning. So a zoning change usually has to be somewhat contiguous or many properties that make up that zone.
So you'd have to notify everybody in that zone that you were voting to change it, correct?
In the zone, yes, by law in the zone.
And if you don't
No.
do that, it's not good. It's illegal. Okay.
No, you have to notify, you have to post the affected tract. So you would do that, but you're not required to notify everyone else. The land development plan will require that.
If it's a zoning map change, you do have to notify the adjoining owners.
Correct.
But if it's not
But
a
not the
zoning
whole
map
zone.
change, just post it and then of course advertise it.
Right. Yeah, not the whole zone though. So there's like.
There's not certified mail requirements or anything.
No, there's not like, Smithfield Township is like 15,000 acres. So, and almost, probably 60-70% of that is R1.
So essentially legally, you have to let everyone know if you change their zone.
Yes, if you change their zone, yes, 100%. We have to give you notice at least, I think it's a month in advance, essentially.
Okay, that's what I was getting to there. I was just trying to figure out exactly. I appreciate the other guy there stepping in. I'm just trying to figure out, how you should be notified and when, and if everyone should know if something changes.
Yeah, and if you have questions, call our office. The zoning officer could explain that process to you as well.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Any others?
Hi, Jacob.
Right. Oh, go ahead, Justin.
I just want to go back to back nine real quick. I just want to say, you said you didn't really single them out, but I mean, you really did, and you drugged us out for a long time now. My main question is, what changed? Why did the offer change? Especially after all this time of getting nowhere.
I think I'm gonna have to leave it to what we're gonna, negotiate between lawyers, but
Of course, you got nothing to say. All right, thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you. Ron, go ahead.
Nothing,
I want
nothing to be
to,
proud of, bud.
I want to make sure that I'm not leaving Ms. Byrne hanging in her question about, well, we're all here, let's, see what we can do. I'm not sure what offer is coming back to us other than the one I received on February 4, which is that the appeals get withdrawn. There'll be 20 riders on Tuesday through Thursday, 40 riders on the weekend. That it's in effect for 2 years, that they can do merch and sell things, etc. I mean, I'm not sure if that's what we're talking about or if there's some other proposal, because I have no other proposal than
Well,
that
if you
of-
let, Ron, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I was gonna ask if you were gonna answer me. Back to our core position, based on your offer, when we asked for the kids and for us to personally ride, obviously I'm over 21. I own the property. I ride dirt bikes. I want to ride with my children. Our core position is that we do acknowledge and appreciate your settlement offer tonight. However, the proposed terms that you sent us were in fact more restrictive than the status quo and more restrictive than our current lawful use of the property, which we could all agree upon. Our request tonight was narrowly limited to family use of the property and was not even really regarding the entity of the back nine as a business. That request appears to have been misconstrued in your reply, and it resulted in crazy additional limitations that are unnecessary and inconsistent with our existing rights. Our day-to-day operations are less restrictive than what you guys tried to offer us last time. So I think, to clarify your question to me, we are not seeking to reopen tonight or operate the entity known as the back nine at this time. My position, Jen's position, my family's position is that absent an agreement, the status quo remains, that our family retains the right to use our property for personal purposes, subject, as Robert mentioned tonight, to generally applicable laws and ordinances, and we will continue to honor these. And Robert made such a valid point. We own this property. We should be able to enjoy it as we always have. If we wanted to host a wedding with 4 guests, 14 guests, 40 guests, how could we be told that's not allowed? All we're asking tonight is that we don't go back and forth. We've been doing this for 2 years, and at what expense? Ron, you said it yourself day one before we even entered into this. You said it's going to be very costly to the taxpayers to get into a litigation situation with these folks because we do have rights and the law is not necessarily on your side. A lot of people have asked questions about our zoning. Judge Zulik ruled we are zoned a resort. You guys chose to appeal that. We are waiting patiently and impatiently to go to court, which we do feel confident we will win that ruling. Motocross is an outdoor recreational activity. In the meantime, all we are asking, and I heard Robert say it tonight, I heard Michael agree with him, and we are very appreciative that after all this discussion over the past 2 years, all we're asking is that tonight, with the 3 of you present, the solicitor is there, we come to an agreement formally that we are allowed to ride and use our property as a personal use. That's all we're requesting.
We need it in writing from your attorney, essentially what you just said.
Jen has it in her hand. Jen has it in her hand. She can hand it to Ron. It has been legally vetted by my attorney. I have shared it with people. It is absolutely ready to go. I will pass off a copy to you tonight.
Cannot formally vote on this.
It's not on the agenda. There's laws.
I was told it didn't need to be on the agenda. Robert, would you be kind enough to help me?
Help you do what? I'm sorry, Lisa.
I was under the impression that with the 3 of you present and Ron there, that we could come to some sort of agreement tonight and get it, kind of going.
Well, I think you heard, we are pretty much in agreement. Just give us a statement that we can vote on.
Ben, would you be kind enough to pass that off to Ron?
I think Ron has to clear it with the court. Am I right or not?
Well, I don't know, say, allow us to use the property for personal use. That's a pretty
Why not?
broad area. Yeah, so I would like to see that a little bit more.
But what happens is that you guys have done this to us before. Remember the olive branch your kids can ride? And then I get an email response from Ron stating, no one can ride or there's restrictions, no selling t-shirts. All I'm asking is that we agree that we could use our property and my 2 children, myself and our friends can ride on our property. It's simple. We're gonna go to court.
Lisa, provide us with a statement from you. And by next week, hopefully ASAP, we'll vote on it.
Okay. That's all we can do for now. That is what we've agreed to. We need it in writing. We need our lawyer to vet it. And then if he gives it his approval, then we'll be able to vote on it on the 25th. But
Jacob.
Thank you.
Jacob, you are asking these people, you're telling them they can't use their own personal land as long as they follow the laws, you shouldn't even need an agreement. Why can't you at least say that?
Can I just, Chris,
if you
with
want to
respect, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. There was a court order from the judge saying they cannot ride motorcycles right now. We're all saying, we agree they should be able to use it for personal purposes as of right now. Ron already read it. It is the judge's statement. The judge did give us a permission to make it allowable to do that, but it has to be signed. It has to be approved by the judge. I'm highlighting.
This is the legal gymnastics you put them through.
I disagree with that from my attorney and from Ron.
Well, so we're gonna have to have our attorney speak on that. That's all we can do, but
what do you do if you can't speak on it, Jacob?
Hold on, I'm not doing a back and forth with Zoom. You had your 3 minutes. Everyone's had their 3 minutes. Some had more. Is there any others?
Some had less. Just stop the
I'll
bullshit.
entertain the motion to adjourn. What? Is there one here? Okay, all right. Sure, sorry, I didn't see it. Go ahead.
Just want to go back to the hot mic conversation. I heard the whole conversation because I was watching live on Strange. And there was some stuff that I had doubts and question marks. And one of the questions were Bonnie's name came up a lot regarding about audits. We were talking with 2 other guys, don't know who those 2 other guys are, and that they're trying to align the books with everybody, with Middle Smithfield, Marshall Creek and all that. That kind of opens up a lot of question mark, like what's going on.
Happy to answer that.
And then How do we have our finance director work in two townships at the same time? Is that like a conflict of interest?
No, so
You sure? Cause you're like, you guys do the same grants, the same bids?
No.
She sees the numbers.
it's not how, no, that's it. But what Bonnie's doing as a consultant on
On
her own
what
time
like that.
is, no, it's distinct from her employment here. She worked there prior. Bonnie I was referring to was not her. It was another person, believe it or not, also named Bonnie that replaced her when she left.
Okay, but when you go to Middle Smithfield Township's webpage, we have our Bonnie Winter's name still there as an employee with an extension number
And
and an
website
email.
might not be up to date. I don't,
Oh, no, when you call, yeah, she works there. They verified it.
Bonnie Winter, that's news to me. Happy to check.
She works there as a consultant.
Okay, see, you didn't know, right? Or you're pretending you didn't know.
I'm not pretending I didn't know.
It's considered a conflict of interest. And what about the Board of Auditors? I wrote 2 emails, have not heard from them.
That's up to them,
It's up to them.
not. it's not up
Also,
to me.
did we ever approve the second, remember I asked if we could do a second meeting with the Board of Auditors? So we could get the minutes before a year?
I believe that that is their plan, but that's not us.
Okay, so we have to wait a year to ask them again?
No, I think that they were
Because
looking at some.
they did clarify, it does come back to the Board of Supervisors to approve that. If they could just do
We
a tiny
paid it.
work session so we could get the minutes before a year.
I'm sure that they will do that. They talked about either later February or March, but for
Okay.
example, the only thing that we vote on that deals with that is the paying for the legal ad, like the Gatehouse Media thing that came up earlier. That's the only thing that we do with that.
Okay.
Alright, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Albert, second Mr. Levenheim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.